In 1960, two men, Don Morrill and Gaylord Jensen, formed a partnership to start a sod farm. Gaylord had been a farmer, and Don had worked for H&E Sod Nursery for several years. The farm was formed on March 17, 1960. This happened to be St. Patrick's Day, and they called it Shamrock Turf Nurseries. This partnership lasted for only 2 years, and Don bought Gaylord's investment into the new business. The original farm and office were located in Momence, Illinois, along the banks of the Kankakee River. The river bottom soil proved beneficial for sod production, and this was commonly called mineral sod. Before Shamrock Turf had any harvestable sod of its own, pasture sod was purchased from local farmers, fertilized, mowed, and then cut with a walk-behind Ryan sod cutter. The sod was then rolled by hand, loaded onto trucks by hand, and taken to the job site and then unloaded, all by hand. Since the sod industry was very young in the 1960s, and there was a small amount of equipment available for purchase, Shamrock Turf developed its own home-built sod roller. It was powered by a Briggs & Stratton engine, and it was made to follow the Ryan sod cutter. This advancement saved Shamrock lots of hours of tedious hand labor and made sod shipping much faster. Wild Manufacturing, a Michigan-based company, began developing an inexpensive forklift built around used agricultural tractors. This made the transition to the use of pallets a reality. The cut sod was rolled and would be loaded onto pallets and then loaded onto truck by the forklifts. Forklift would then be hauled behind the truck or on a small trailer and used to unload the sod pallets at the job. It was again a tremendous advancement into delivering of sod. In the spring of 1963, Don Morrill contracted Raymond and Don Johnson to install sod as an added value to the company. The salesman would sell a job needing sod, and Ray and Don would prepare the ground, install the sod, and water it all in one day. The first contracts were exclusively residential, but as the business grew, more and more commercial jobs were becoming available, and then the demand for 2 installation crews became necessary. In 1965, a 200-acre farm in Hanna, Indiana was purchased and the operation further expanded. The Hanna farm was a former mint-growing operation with a peat-type soil. The sod grown there was commonly called muck sod. Raymond Johnson was hired full-time as the manager of the Momence farm as Don Morrill moved to the new Hanna, Indiana farm. Don Johnson continued to install sod for another year before that practice was abandoned when Shamrock Turf found itself to be in competition with its own customers. Don Johnson was then employed as the company mechanic. During the winter months, when there was little work to be done on the farm, Ray and Don started to develop and experiment with mechanical sod harvesters. The first such project was built on a cleat track crawler tractor which utilized the old walk-behind rolling system. It was effective, but still didn't provide enough harvesting volume. This led to more research and the development of the Big J Harvest Turf. This machine utilized rollers on each side of the machine, was built on a large high-crop tractor with a conveyor coming underneath. When this machine was operational, it was common for 5 men to be able to produce 1 semi-load of sod each hour. This machine drew a little bit of attention from other growers, and 5 machines were eventually built and sold. By the mid to late 60s, the sod industry had developed to the point that it formed the first organization called the American Sod Producers Association, commonly called ASPA. The first official meeting was held in 1967, and Shamrock Turf Nurseries was one of its charter members. In the summer of 1968, the first official field day held on a sod farm was held at Shamrock Turf Nursery's Hanna, Indiana farm, with equipment demonstrations and attendees from all over the United States and parts of Canada. In 1994, the American Sod Producers Association was changed to Turf Producers International, commonly known today as TPI, to reflect the international members in the turf producing industry. Shamrock Turf Nurseries continued to grow in size, acquiring more land to keep up with the growing needs of its customers. In 1970, Don Morrill decided to sell Shamrock Turf. Raymond and his wife Mary Johnson became the sole owners of Shamrock Turf Nurseries. Raymond Johnson had been farming all his life and continued to do so even while employed at Shamrock Turf Nurseries. The family farm, which had been part of the Johnson family since 1898, was soon converted to grow sod, giving Shamrock Turf more acres of both muck sod and mineral to keep up with the growing demand. As the 70s moved forward, so did the construction of the interstate highway system. Shamrock Turf Nurseries reached its peak in production with 1,000 acres involved in turfgrass, annually selling more than 2 million square yards of turf. Over the years, Shamrock Turf had worked closely with the Purdue University and their director of turfgrass, Dr. Bill Daniels. Dr. Daniels later became an honorary member of the American Sod Producers Association. Raymond Johnson served on the board of directors of the Midwest Regional Turf Foundation and also a board member and president and former past president of the American Sod Producers Association. One of the most important aspects of the sod industry is to acquire and share information with other growers. A big part in this sharing of information has been accomplished with TPI conferences and study tours. Over the many years that Shamrock Turf has existed, it has been witness to numerous changes, from the rolling of sod by hand to the large and efficient harvesters commercially available today. The improvements in seed variety, both in quality and diversity, continue to move the industry forward. One of the benefits of having a fully equipped shop, in addition to equipment maintenance and product innovation, is the ability to restore antique equipment. Shamrock Turf Nurseries currently has a collection of about 50 antique tractors. Many brands are represented, as well as many eras of development. This endeavor helps maintain a connection to our agricultural past, and it keeps employees busy during slow times. In 2002, Raymond Johnson retired from the everyday demands of running a business. The Hanna, Indiana farms were closed. The Momence, Illinois operation was expanded with more acres and upgraded equipment. Mark Johnson, Raymond and Mary's eldest son, who started working on the farm when he was a teenager, was a Momence farm manager and had been vice president for many years. Under his current leadership, new features, practices, and equipment have been implemented. The main goal of Shamrock Turf Nurseries has been to honor God and give Him glory, and to continually thank God for all the blessings and accomplishments. All the success that Shamrock Turf Nurseries has enjoyed over the years could not have been accomplished without the help and support of many talented, loyal, and faithful employees. The economic and environmental realities that face the turf industry today must be met with education, innovation, flexibility, and patience. By reflecting on the past, learning from the challenges, and applying the hard work necessary, Shamrock Turf Nurseries will continue to meet the demands of the future.